Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel as we draw an end to 2025. The property market over the past year has been very clear about one thing. Demand hasn't slowed, but access has become harder. Many recent launches are selling out or almost sold out. And for many buyers, the challenge is no longer affordability, but allocation. So instead of reacting emotionally, I want to take a step back in this video and look at the market more strategically. So honestly, after so many launches being sold out or almost sold out, I know a lot of people are feeling a bit sian. You queue, you ballot, and in the end, you still don't get a unit. And then the question becomes, should you just wait for the next launch? But at the same time, we all know land bid prices have been going up every year, which means upcoming launches are likely going to be priced even higher. So I think the real question is, are there still decent buys out there right now, especially among the remaining units in existing new launches that actually make more sense than waiting and paying future prices? That's why in this video, I want to walk you through what you can realistically buy with 2.5 million today and why some of these options are actually worth considering if you missed out on the recent launches. I'll explain my thinking as we go. So for today, I'll be walking you through 3 projects that I think are worth considering if you are working with a 2.5 million budget. For each project, we'll keep it simple. I'll briefly touch on the location, some key project details, and also look at the price points of the units that we are considering. I'll also compare these launches with what have already been transacted, as well as within the same development, and also up against upcoming launches, which are expected to come in the higher price points. And towards the end, we'll take a quick look at the layouts of the selected units just to see how practical they actually are for day-to-day living. Again, if you like the content so far, do feel free to follow my channel where I'll analyze more relevant latest topics pertaining to the real estate market in Singapore. So for this video, I first narrow down a little. We are only looking at 3 and 4 bedrooms, at below the 2.5 million price point. Honestly, there are plenty of 1 to 2 bedroom options out there at this price point, especially in CCR projects. But if you're thinking a bit more long-term, especially from an exit perspective, I personally find 3 and 4 bedroom units more interesting because the buyer pool tends to be wider and you'll be looking at families and also HDB upgraders as well. So on top of that, I also focused on projects with at least around 200 units. Larger developments generally have more transactions over time, which helps with price stability and makes exits less volatile. So after filtering based on the 2.5 million budget, focusing on 3 and 4 bedroom units, and looking only at projects with sufficient scale, there are actually about 10 existing new launches out there in the market today that still fit the criteria. So on this slide, I've sorted the 3 and 4 bedroom units across these 10 different projects according to their PSF, from the lowest to the highest. This is really just to give you a quick overview of what's actually available in the market right now and how the different projects stack up against one another from a pricing perspective. So it's not about saying cheaper is always better, but more about understanding where each project sits before we narrow things down further. So for the first project I want to talk about is Terra Hill. This is a freehold development located in the Pasir Panjang area and is within walking distance to Pasir Panjang MRT. It's also close to the Greater Southern Waterfront transformation, which is a longer-term growth area that buyers are keeping an eye on. So this is the location map for Terra Hill. We can see that Pasir Panjang MRT is towards the south of this development, which is one of the main transport links in this area. Around Terra Hill, there are also quite a number of older developments, and these are generally much bigger in unit size. And because of that, even though their PSF is lower, their overall price quantum tends to be a lot higher. So this gives you some context on where Terra Hill sits in terms of pricing and positioning within the neighborhood. So one project I want to highlight, which we'll come back to later, is Kent Ridge Hill Residences, located just to the north of Terra Hill. This is a 99-year freehold development that has only recently TOP'd, and its transaction prices gives us a pretty good reference point for the area today. So what's important to note here is that Terra Hill is freehold, while Kent Ridge Hill Residences is 99 years. So when we compare prices later on, this difference in tenure is something worth keeping in mind. So a quick overview of Terra Hill is actually developed by Hoi Hub, which is quite well-known and established developer. They have done quite a number of good quality projects over the years, including some very well-designed ECs. In terms of scale, Terra Hill has 9 blocks and is a low-rise development. capped at 5 stories because this whole area is zoned for low-rise residential. So altogether, there are 270 units with 1-to-1 parking ratio, which is something buyers usually appreciate. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a freehold project and is expected to TOP in Q3 of 2026, so it's actually not that far away. If you're someone who prefers a project that's almost ready to move in rather than waiting many years, this could be quite a good option to consider. So if you compare Terra Hill with other existing launches, the most straightforward comparison is really with the remaining projects within District 5. Right now, the main ones to look at are Bloomsbury Residences as well as Alta. So both of these are 99 years developments, whereas Terra Hill is the only freehold project among them. So if we focus just on 3-bedroom units, the lowest price unit in Terra Hill is currently at 2.4 million. That's actually about 200k cheaper than Alta, where the lowest 3-bedroom now is closer to the 2.6 range. And Alta is a 99-year project and not near MRT station. So for Bloomsbury, the cheapest 3-bedroom you can get here is around close to 2.3 million. Again, it's a 99-year development and also not particularly close to any MRT. So when you put everything together side by side, tenure, pricing, and location, Terra Hill stands out quite clearly. Based on the available units today, if you're comparing within District 5, this is actually a very compelling option to consider. So next, let's compare the remaining units in Terra Hill with what has already been transacted within the same project. So if you look at the transacted 3-bedroom units, the PSF range is quite tight. The lowest transacted PSF is around 2,200 and the average is about 2,600. Okay, and the highest right now is about 2,800. Now, if you look at the available remaining units here, they are generally priced around 2.4 to 2.5 PSF range, which is actually slightly below the average of what has already been transacted here. Yes, some of these remaining units are on the lower floor, but this is a low-rise development, so the difference in floor height isn't that significant. In fact, the stack orientation and facing sometimes matter more. So when we look at it this way, at a 2.4 plus million 3-bedroom in a freehold RCR project like Terra Hill is actually very compelling in today's market, especially when you compare it against both past transactions and what's coming up. So this is the 969 square feet 3-bedroom layout that is still available in Terra Hill. Just to clarify, this is a post-harmonization layout, which means the aircon ledge are no longer part of the floor area. So the 969 square feet the entire 969 square feet is actually fully usable internal space without any wastage. So even though it's a compact layout, I think it is quite functional. You still get a fully enclosed kitchen, which many families prefer. And there's also a bomb shelter, which is also actually very practical for storage. So the main compromise here is the 3rd bedroom. You can see that it's noticeably smaller than the 2nd bedroom. Based on the proportions, you can likely still fit a queen bed, but it will be a tighter fit. And the room length is shorter, so the bed will sit closer to the wall. Other than that, for post-harmonization 3-bedroom at this size and price point, I would say this is a fairly efficient and workable layout. So next, let's compare Terra Hill against some of the upcoming launches. This map shows the existing projects in the western part of Singapore, as well as launches that we know are coming up around 2026. So if we stay within the same district, one upcoming site to note is Media Circle Parcel A. Okay, this land was sold in March in 2025 to Qingjian and Hooverson at about 1037 PSF per plot ratio. Based on the land price, the estimated break-even works out to be around 1867 PSF. Of course, break-even is just the reference, so it doesn't mean that the project will necessarily launch cheap. In fact, even if developers buy land at lower price, it doesn't always translate to lower launch prices. So now if we compare the two, Terra Hill and Media Circle are actually very different products. Media Circle is 99-year development. It's not close to an MRT, whereas Terra Hill is freehold and within walking distance to Pasir Panjang MRT. So even if we conservatively factor in, say, 20% freehold premium, Terra Hill's current pricing still makes sense in today's context. And that's why when comparing against upcoming launches where pricing is still uncertain, Terra Hill remains a very reasonable option right now. So to summarize, Terra Hill starts from around 2,200 PSF for a freehold project near an MRT. In comparison, Bloomsbury starts closer to 2.4 And Alta is even higher at 28xx PSF. Taking into consideration both Bloomsbury and Alta are 99 years project. So what's also interesting is the remaining 3-bedroom units in Terra Hill today are priced below the average transacted PSF within the development, which means your entry price is already supported by past transactions. As for media circle, even if launch prices come in around the low to mid 2000 PSF, so we're expecting, let's say, 2002 to 2004, it's still a 99-year project and not near MRT. So at similar pricing levels, Terra Hill remains a very attractive option in today's market. So moving on to the second option under 2.5 million, we have the Sand, which is located in the Beauty World area. So one thing I like about this location is that you're also tapping on the transformation around Beauty World MRT. So you already have the reserve residences there, which is part of the upcoming integrated transport hub. So in the future, this will mean a large retail mall, an integrated MRT station, and a fully air-conditioned bus interchange all in one place. These are the kinds of infrastructure upgrades that tend to support prices over time, and that's why Beauty World continues to be a location many buyers are closely watching. So this is the location map. You can see that the Sand is right at the junction of the Old Jurong Road, as well as the Jalan Jurong Kechil. It's also right beside Verdell, which has recently TOP, so this gives us a very good point of reference. So in terms of proximity to MRT, it is not as close to other projects in the area, but the upside is that it sits in a very quiet, low-density residential pocket, which some buyers actually prefer. So it's more of a peaceful neighborhood-style location. So a quick overview, the project comprises 5 residential blocks, each about 10-story high. And one interesting feature here is that it also comes with a childcare center, which is relatively uncommon and can be a plus point for families with young kids. So in total, there are 347 units, and you also get one-to-one parking, which is always good to have. Since this project only launched recently, the expected TOP is around August 2029. So still quite a few more years to go. So for the Sand, the most straightforward comparison is actually Verdell, which is right next door and has already TOP. If we look at recent transactions at Verdell, the average PSF for the 3 bedrooms are at 2096 PSF. Now, because Verdell is a pre-harmonized development, if we add about 5 to 6% to make it more comparable to the Sand, which is post-harmonized, this works out to be around 2200 PSF. So when we look at what's currently available at the Sand, many of the 3 bedrooms here are still priced at around 2200 PSF range, similar to what has been transacted in Verdell if we compare after the post-harmonization. So essentially, you're buying a brand new development at pricing that's very much in line with an older project, just right next door. And do bear in mind, Verdell's land was bought several years ago, and its lease started earlier from 2018, whereas the Sand's lease started from 2025 this year, 7 years newer. So from a pricing perspective, that makes the Sand very compelling in today's market. So here we are comparing the compact 3-bedroom layouts at the Sand, which is 872 square feet. So against the 3-bedroom at Verdell, which is 1001 square feet and pre-GFA harmonized. So if we adjust the Sand's size to make it more apple-to-apple comparison by adding back the aircon latch, okay, that works out to be about 920 or 930 square feet, which is still slightly smaller than Verdell. That said, when you look at the actual layouts, both are proper 3 bedrooms and both come with a utility space. Okay, so the Sand's layout is more dumbbell style, which makes it more efficient. And it also has a less entrance walkway space compared to Verdell. So Verdell's layout is more traditional with the 3 bedrooms flanked to one side. One difference is the kitchen. So the Sand has a more open concept kitchen, while Verdell's one is enclosed. But for the Sand, you do have the option to actually enclose the kitchen if you want. So overall, while Verdell is larger on paper, the Sand uses the space more efficiently and the layout holds up very well in comparison. Next, let's compare the available units at the Sand with what has already been transacted within the same development. So from the transactions so far, the average for the 3-bedroom is 2339 PSF, with some deals going up to as high as 2005. So what's interesting is that today, there are still quite a few 3-bedroom units available around the 2,200 PSF range, which is actually below the average transacted prices. So in that sense, your entry price is supported by existing transactions within the same project, which is a huge safety net. So if we compare the SEN with upcoming launches, the closest apple-to-apple comparison would be Dairy Farm Walk, now known as Nara Residences, which is previewing in January 2026. So both in a similar general locality, though Nara is actually further in and both projects are GFA harmonized, so the comparison is fair. If you look at the land prices, Nara was bought at 1020 PSF per plot ratio. The SEN's land price was around 844, okay, which is almost 200 PSF cheaper. Based on that, the estimated break-even prices for Nara is around 1844. Whereas the SEN is 1602 PSF. So we know that Nara starts at the attractive headline price of around 1,009 to 2,000 PSF. However, the average and transacted prices are likely to end up higher than what's still available at the SEN today, taking into consideration the higher land bid price translated to higher break-even price. So from a timing perspective, this is why I feel the SEN is worth taking a closer look at now, because once Nara launches, there's a good chance the spillover buyers will come back and pick up the remaining good units here. So if you put everything together, the pricing for the SEN actually makes a lot of sense. When we compare it with Availble, which is an older development right next door, and we adjust both to be on a harmonized basis, the PSF is actually very similar. That means you are effectively buying a brand new development at pricing comparable to an older one right beside. If you look within the SEN itself, the average transacted PSF for a 3-bedroom is around 2,300 PSF, and we have even seen transactions going up to even 2,500 PSF. Okay, so being able to enter today at 2,200 PSF, it is a steal. As for Nara Residences, the full pricing isn't out yet, but average prices are likely to fall somewhere between the 2,002 to 2,400 PSF range. And it's also located further away from the Beauty World integrated transport hub and main amenities. So when you compare across the older projects, the current transactions, and also the upcoming launches, you can see why the SEN stands out quite clearly from a pricing perspective. So for the last of 3 projects that we have shortlisted, we have Canberra Crescent Residences. The main reason this project made the list is really quite simple. It comes with a very attractive price point, especially when you compare what you can get at the same budget elsewhere. So let's take a closer look at where it's located and why it stands out. So looking at the location map, the CCR, which is Canberra Crescent Residences for short, isn't directly next to an MRT station. It sits roughly between Canberra MRT and also the Sembawang MRT, though it's generally closer towards the Canberra side. That said, it's right beside Province Residence, which is a newer EC, and also you have the Sembawang Community Club just across the road. So you're also relatively close to Bukit Canberra Active SG, which comes with a sports facilities and a hawker centre. And there's also a Sheng Siong supermarket nearby for daily groceries. So for bigger retail needs, most residents would head to the Canberra Plaza at Canberra MRT or Sun Plaza at Sembawang MRT. So because this project is located within a very HDB-heavy established township, it naturally sits right in the path of HDB upgraders in the area. So when you think about exit in the future, there's already an existing pool of buyers nearby who are familiar with the location and looking to upgrade within the same neighbourhood. So a quick overview of CCR is jointly developed by Keng Leong and Loh Keng Huat, both of which are established developers in the market. So in total, the project has 376 units spread across 4 residential blocks that are 12 stories high. It also comes with a childcare centre, which is nice plus for families. The expected TOP is around April 2030, so this is more suitable for buyers who are comfortable with a longer waiting period. In terms of parking lot, we have 382 parking lots, which is actually more than a 1-to-1 ratio, something that's quite rare these days. So to put CCR into context, one good comparison we can use is Norwood Grand, which launched last year. So Norwood Grand is actually closer to the Woodlands South MRT. So although they are both technically in different districts. Norwood Grand is in District 25, while Canberra Crescent is in District 27. In terms of location and proximity, both sit in the northern region and appeal to a very similar buyer profile. Also, both projects are GFA harmonized, so when we look at the PSF, it's a fairly apple-to-apple comparison. Now, if you look at Norwood Grand, we know it performed really well on launch day, with about 84% units sold on the first day. So for the 3-bedroom units, the average transacted PSF is around 2,000 PSF, with some transactions going as high as 2,001. At this point, there's also very limited availability left at Norwood Grand. So there are 0 3-bedrooms left and only 4+ study layouts available now. So when we compare that to CCR, units here are currently starting from around 1,009 PSF. And in terms of the price quantum, the lowest price right now we have is at 1.62 to 1.7 million range, which is very attractive for a 3-bedroom. Hence, from a value perspective, CCR stands out quite clearly. At Norwood Grand, the 3-bedroom units come in 872 square feet and the 883 square feet layout. The layouts are more traditional with the 3 bedrooms flanked to one side. And both layouts come with a small study nook near the walkway towards the bedrooms. So for the 872 square feet layout, there's a foyer area. While some may see this as a slight wasted space, it also gives you the flexibility for storage, shoe cabinets or built-in along the walkway. Both Norwood Grand layouts also come with the enclosed kitchen with windows, here, which many buyers still prefer for daily living. Now, if we compare this with the CCR 3-bedroom layouts, they have it in the 797 square feet and also 872 square feet. The smaller unit does not come with a study, and the kitchen is more open concept. The larger 872 square feet layout does have a study, but it also has some entrance walkway space as well. So overall, while the sizes are quite similar, the difference really comes down to the layout preference. So Norwood Grand offers a more traditional, enclosed and functional layout, while CCR leans more towards a modern open feel. Both are GFA harmonized and efficiently designed, so there's no major drawback on either side. So it really comes down to what suits your lifestyle better. One important thing to highlight is that with a 2.5 million budget, if you're looking to upgrade in terms of the space, you can actually even consider the 4-bedroom units at CCR. When we sort the available 4-bedroom units by PSF, the price start from around 1,008 PSF. And in terms of the price quantum, 4-bedroom units are starting from about 2.189 million onwards. So more importantly, CCR still has quite a good selection of 4-bedroom units, so buyers have real choice. Now, if we compare this with Norwood Grand, the average PSF transacted for a 4-bedroom here is 2,015 PSF, and on the higher end, the transactions have crossed a 2,100 PSF. So what's more, the remaining 4-bedroom Premium Plus with study units at Norwood Grand are already priced at around 2.6 to 2.7 million, much higher than CCR. So it's almost a good 5 to 600k difference, and that's a lot. So when we put things side by side, CCR allows you to buy a larger 4-bedroom home at a much lower price point, often at PSF levels comparable to or even lower than 3-bedroom units in the RCR and OCR projects today. In fact, it's even cheaper than some 2-bedroom units in the RCR and the real CCR, which is the core central region. And that's really why Canberra stands out so strongly for buyers focused on space and value. So now let's look at the 4-bedroom layouts, okay, in comparison with Norwood Grand's. Overall, the Norwood Grand's 4-bedroom units are very well done and lean more towards the larger, more premium family format. The layouts both come with separate dry and wet kitchens. And they come with the yard, and then they have the yard, they have the WC and also the study as well as the bomb shelter. So same thing for this layout, yard, WC, the bomb shelter and also the study. So the master bedroom is where Norwood Grand places a lot more emphasis on. In the larger layouts, you get a more generous master suite with a walk-in wardrobe, giving you a more luxurious and private feel. Balcony-wise, Norwood Grand have one in the living room and also one in the master bedroom, okay, for both the layouts. So in terms of layout quality and lifestyle feel, Norwood Grand does present itself as a more spacious and premium option, especially for buyers who value a larger master bedroom. That's why the sizes are bigger also at 1313 square feet and also 1335 square feet. So if we shift our focus to the CCR 4-bedroom layouts, the positioning is quite different. So for CCR, they have more compact sizes, 1173, 1163, and also the 1216 in comparison to Norwood Grand. You still get like the things like the dry kitchen, wet kitchen, yard, and then the bomb shelter. Okay, likewise for these units, the WC, wet kitchen, dry kitchen, yard. Okay, and for this one as well. While one of the layouts does not have a household shelter, okay, which is this one, this particular layout, the 1216 square feet one, but the internal planning is efficient with minimal wasted space. So the balcony at CCR is larger compared to Norwood. It runs across the living and dining area. Okay. For this one, the 1173 one, it runs across the living and the study. So it's more of a landscape setting. So bedroom sizes at CCR are practical rather than luxurious. So the master bedroom is smaller compared to Norwood, and it doesn't come in with that walk-in wardrobe. Okay, likewise for the other 4 bedrooms. But it comfortably fits a king bed and wardrobes, while the remaining bedrooms function well as a real bedrooms rather than compromised spaces. And this is where CCR really stands out in value. Despite being more compact, the CCR offers genuine 4-bedroom homes at prices that are roughly 5 to 600k lower than comparable units at Norwood Grand. So for buyers who want a proper family-sized layout but are mindful of the budget, this price gap is meaningful. So when you compare the two side by side, Norwood Grand wins on size and luxury, but CCR wins on value and affordability. You're still getting the real 4-bedroom units, just at a more accessible price point. And for many family buyers, that trade-off makes a lot of sense. So next, let's compare the available units at CCR with what has already been transacted. If you look at past transactions, the average PSF is close to 2,000 PSF, with some deals as high as even 2,082 PSF. But it's not a huge difference. So when we look at the units that are still available today, they are also in the 1,009 to 2,000 PSF range, which is very close to the average transacted. So in terms of price quantum, the lowest available unit starts from 1.621 million, and overall the remaining units are fairly uniformly priced without a big jump in PSF. The key advantage here is there's still a wide selection of units available with pricing that's already supported by past transactions. And that's why CCR stands out, because the price is stable, consistent and well supported, while still giving buyers plenty of choice. So now let's look at the 4-bedroom units comparing with what has already been transacted. So based on past transactions, the average PSF for 4-bedroom units is around 1,009 and then going up to close to the 2,000 PSF. When we look at the units currently available, there are still some price below the 1,009 PSF range. Actually just one below 1,009, which is actually lower than the average transacted levels. So similar to the 3-bedroom units, pricing for the 4-bedroom units have been quite stable without large swings. And that consistency is important because it suggests that current prices are already well supported by past transactions while still offering some opportunities slightly below the average. So now let's compare CCR with the upcoming launches. To do that, it's helpful to first look at the land cost that CCR was bought at. So this site was purchased at 793 PSF per plot ratio, which is relatively low compared to many new sites today. In fact, it's like closer to the recent land bid prices of ECs. So to give some context, when we compare CCR with upcoming launches, this map shows the rough locations of a few sites that are most relevant for comparison. The first one is Chencharu Close, which is close to Khatib MRT. It is about 2 MRT stops away from Canberra MRT, where CCR is located. So while Chencharu isn't too far from CCR, it does have the advantage of being closer to an MRT station. The second site I want to highlight is Upper Thomson Road Parcel A, which is located right next to Springleaf MRT on the Thomson East Coast Line. So this is the same location as Springleaf Residences, which was almost fully sold out on launch day. So these two upcoming sites give us a good benchmark in terms of location and connectivity when we compare against CCR. So when you put this together, it's quite clear that next year's launches are likely to be priced higher simply because the land bid prices are already much higher. Of course, there are differences in locations. Some of the upcoming sites are closer to MRT stations. And when it comes to everyday amenities, Canberra, being a mature HDB township, still enjoys a much wider range of established amenities compared to places like Springleaf. You have neighborhood shops, community facilities, and malls like Canberra Plaza and Sun Plaza nearby, which makes daily living more convenient. More importantly, if you are working with a tighter budget, CCR gives you more choices today and even allows you to look at larger unit sizes compared to what you're likely to get at Chencharu or Upper Thomson when they launch, which will almost certainly be more expensive. And by the time these projects come to the market, there's a good chance that many of the better priced units at CCR would already have been taken up by competing buyers. So from a timing and value perspective, if you're looking for price-efficient entry, it often makes more sense to consider what's available now rather than waiting and paying higher prices later on. So if we pull all comparisons together, CCR actually holds up very well. First, when we compare CCR with existing launches like Norwood, the layouts are competitive, and in terms of pricing, you can still get similar PSF levels at CCR. At the same time, Norwood has very limited stocks left, only the higher priced 4-bedroom premium plus study units. Next, when we look within CCR itself, both the 3 and 4-bedroom units that are still available are priced on par with past transactions. So you're not paying a premium after launch. You're entering at prices that are similar to what your neighbors have already paid. So from an exit perspective, this helps maintain a strong resale position in the future. Lastly, when we compare CCR with upcoming launches in the nearby areas like Chencharu Close and also the Upper Thomson Parcel A at Springleaf, the land bid prices there are significantly higher, which means the future launch prices are likely going to be higher. Okay, for Upper Thomson, probably around 26 to 27 PSF even, and for Chencharu, around 21 to 2003 PSF. And that's why these upcoming projects actually act as price support for CCR. Taken together, this is what makes available units at CCR quite compelling in today's market. So to wrap things up, these are the top 3 projects that I would personally consider if you're working with a 2.5 million budget in today's market. If you found this video useful, do remember to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel to grow. And if you'd like to chat more about other good buys in the market or explore options at a different price point, do feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to share my thoughts and help you weigh your options so you don't have to feel stressed out about the next launch or balloting. We're coming to the end of the year, so I just want to wish everyone a wonderful Christmas and an amazing start to 2026. I'm excited to share more insights and upcoming opportunities with you in the year ahead. Enjoy the holidays, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.